Good afternoon, everyone. Again, this is Kenneth Withrow with the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. I'd like to welcome you all to the US 401 Corridor Study Pre-Proposal Conference. We're ready to begin at this particular moment in time. Thank you all for your participation and registering for this event, and I hope that you found it convenient. Before we begin, what I'd like to do is introduce and pass off our procedures for this pre-proposal conference to Ms. Bonnie Parker, who is our public engagement manager for the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. Once she does that, then I will move from there and go ahead and give you explanations concerning this pre-proposal conference and what will occur beyond that. So take it away, Bonnie.
Okay, great. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. This is Bonnie Parker with the Capital Area MPO, and on a typical day I handle public engagement and communications here at Campo, and during this crazy time that's turned into Webex technical help as well. So today I'm gonna kind of serve as the technical guru while Kenneth is moderating us through the presentation and the meeting today. Want to give you all a heads up that we are just, for simplification, knowing this is the middle of July, a lot of people are probably in the car right now on a Friday afternoon. We're muting everyone except for Kenneth and I. What we would like you all to do, because there are a couple of question and answer periods and moments when our core team members will talk, is put any questions or need to make a comment, just notify us about that in the chat box. We are actively monitoring that. And at the appropriate time, we'll either share your question out loud or we will unmute you. But there, again, are a number of you on the phone and not able to access the chat box, and that's perfectly fine. But to ensure your access to the meeting and participation, we want to unmute everybody right now. Here in a moment, I'm going to unmute everybody and find out who is on the call, and then later on we will run back through the callers to give you an opportunity to participate. So if you are on the line, make sure now that your actual phone is unmuted, and it looks like there are about 6 people or so that I'm going to quickly try to scroll through. So good afternoon. If you can hear me, this is somebody with a number that's 919389. Could you tell us your name?
That's actually me. That's Mike Sarasky. That's Mike Sarasky, but I'm also on the, I can chat also. I just wasn't able to get in through the audio, so I'm actually on both. So I apologize.
Good. Then I will leave you muted from this end and can unmute you as needed then. Okay, we've got 206419.
Hi, this is Paige Kieran from RK&K.
Hi, Paige. Welcome. And I will call back out to you here in a little while to let you know when you're unmuted. Okay, we have 919753.
It's Sam McDonald with AMT.
Okay. Hi, Sam. Thank you for joining us. Same thing. I'm going to call back through to you here a little bit later. And we have 434770.
Yes, hello. This is Rachel Hill from Kimley Horn.
Hey, Rachel. All right. Nice to hear you. Thank you. And next, let's see, did I mute Rachel right? Okay. Next is 919909. Do you know who you are out there, 919909?
This is Charlie Close, KCI.
Hey, Charlie. Thanks for joining us. I will unmute you here in a bit. All right. We have 919604. 604. Okay. Sounds like they're on the way to vacay. All right. 919612.
This is Mark Spring.
Katya is Mark, and we will definitely come back. Thanks, Mark. And maybe this is my last one, 919740. 919740. Okay, you guys, this is going to get very painful for just a moment. We're going to unmute all just to see if there's somebody who cannot access the chat that I haven't connected with yet. So for 5 seconds, here we go. And if you need to speak up, please do so now. Does anybody need assistance with the chat? You are unmuted.
Hi, Bonnie. This is Jay Sykes, Kinley, 99604.
Gotcha, Jay. All right, here we go. Back over to Ken.
Thank you very much, Bonnie. I greatly appreciate that. If you could scroll to the next slide, please. If everyone can hear me now, I'll go ahead and begin the process of general explanation concerning today's pre-proposal conference. We'll cover the basic topics concerning the general background, study information, the RFP information. I'm going to be introducing to the core team and their particular expectations. They will be given an opportunity to do a 3-minute review of their expectations. And then for the rest of the time that we'll have, we'll address questions and answers. For introductions concerning this particular project, the main core leadership team, of course, includes the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, along with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, Harnett County, Wake County, Fuquay-Varina, and the town of Lillington. The scope of this project, as has been mentioned within the RFP, will cover our area from Banks Road south to the border of the MPO in the Lillington jurisdiction, Lillington planning jurisdiction. And one of the things that we want to highlight with regard to this, we recognize that this route is a major north-south facility serving southwestern Wake County and rural areas within Harnett County. It has experienced significant growth and directly connects the Capital Area MPO and the Fayetteville area MPO. We've noted the continual growth in this area and that how this route serves the economic hubs of the Research Triangle Park in downtown Raleigh, as well as the Fort Bragg military installation, as well as Pope Air Force Base. The importance of this particular study, or purpose of this study, as outlined in the RFP, and I'm going to continually reference the RFP and the integrity of the RFP, which we would follow, is of course to determine that ultimate cross-section in alignment and review the functional design for the corridor and how to improve mobility, particularly in central Harnett County. The big thing that's going to be very important in this exercise is the development of meaningful public engagement. Our world has changed significantly in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so how we engage the public is going to be very, very important. So the thing that's going to be significant is having a meaningful public engagement piece that is robust and very customized for this area. We'll probably be hearing from one of the core team members who will, member of the core leadership team, who will probably address that a little bit further. And of course, we'll look at how we can include implementation strategies that will address short-term and long-term recommendations, and look at what can be applied to the highway, as well as other options on the multimodal side. The map here shows you, well, there are two maps. The maps indicate the general context of the US 401 as it exists right now, and US 401 that is incorporated and included in the MTP. And I'm going to go into further explanation about that in just a moment. And here's where that explanation comes from. We need to recognize the previous or the history associated with this particular project. It had been included as early as the adopted 2025 long-range transportation plan, which was adopted in June of 2002. I attempted to look at finding the 1997 thoroughfare plan, find it in there, but couldn't find that document right then and there. But we had it definitely in the plan. We had a definite project number identified for it. Of course, it was included in the FY 2004 through 2010 STIP. It had been designated R2609. It was included in the initial strategic highway corridor map in 2010. And we had a special merger team meeting about it in 2014, and has been included in the Southwest Area Study with the iterations when we did the Southwest Area Study, of course, in 2012 and 2019. Excuse me. Here are some desired elements that we initially want to highlight before you. We're of course going to, as a standard process of the study, include a study oversight team and a core technical team that been standard practice with regard to the capital area MPO when we do various projects. Review previous work done in the area. Review land use, environmental, and transportation elements. And again, really strong public engagement process and piece needs to be incorporated in this particular plan. Developing an implementation plan for the highway and multimodal options, creating a draft and final report, of course, presentations to the local governing boards and our CAMPO, TCC, and executive boards. And one of the things I want to quickly highlight in terms of the desired elements is ensuring that when model work is done, when you're going to be using the triangle regional model, the model that you will be using, or the version that you'll be using, you can write this down, will be TRM V6 amended June 2020. Again, that is TRM version 6 amended June 2020. I don't have specific details from a modeling standpoint, but if you wish to provide me questions on that, send me those questions and I'll forward those to members of our modeling engineering team who can give you the specific answers. What should be the proposed elements for this particular project? We're going to emphasize, as is included within the RFP, limit to 20 pages, number 1 through 20. You can include the one-page cover letter. Our budget is range from $250,000 to $300,000. And of course, ensure that you submit those electronically in PDF format to me. But the main headlight that I wanted to emphasize is that it is a 20-page limit for writing the RFP. The highlights that, of course, we're going to make sure that you cover include the having a strong understanding of and approach for this particular project, establishing a strong project schedule and costs and staff time associated with this project, developing a strong project team, you're providing your general experience, having a good overview, as well as references and vendor ID numbers. That's very, very important to us. And as we go through the process, the core leadership team is going to be looking at 4 significant things that are important in this process. That includes the qualifications, the understanding of the project area, the proposed approach to the project, and the quality of the proposal. Forgive it to be noted 3 times in this slide, but it's 4 particular criteria that we're going to really look at. And this is the schedule that we have here before you all that we want to follow. The question deadline, of course, will be 12 p.m. Next Friday, with a proposal deadline of Friday, August 7th at 11 a.m. And then you see the outline as to how we want to move forward with regard to this particular process, with the desired anticipated notice to proceed in October, early October of this year. And of course, we're looking for anticipated project completion as of June 30th, 2022. Without further ado, what I'd like to do is introduce you to our members of the core team, core leadership team, what their expectations are. We have with us the North Carolina Department of Transportation, Harnett County, Wake County, town of Fuquay Varina, and the town of Lillington. If the designated persons for those agencies could go ahead and speak in the order that is presented here, please do so, and you have 3 minutes to address your specific expectations. So if we could begin with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, please introduce yourself, and then we'll proceed.
This is Darius Sturdivant with NCDOT Division 6. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just a few things I'd like to, of course, on mobility. It's a growing area, increased traffic congestion, increased like the address mobility, safety as well, as far as crashes of the existing rail crossings. And we'd like to implement complete street elements into the study to the full extent possible. And those are the major concerns that we have: is mobility, safety, and complete streets. And also, just a question, this may be more regarding the scope of the project. Will we just be focusing the line corridor, or will we also be looking at some of the major Y lines? I know that there are concerns, especially on Ross Church Road, Piney Grove Rawls, Collegiate Springs, Harnett Central, just to name a few roads that feed into 401. So will those Y line roads be looked at in addition to the main line corridor?
To answer your question, Darius, yes, they will. Thank you, Darius. Greatly appreciate that. Next, we'd like to hear from Harnett County.
Hey, Kenneth, is there somebody specific that I should be unmuting? I was thinking it was Jay.
Yes, it is Jay. Yes.
Jay, if you can hear me, I'm going to try you again. We immediately got feedback. Are you there?
I'm here. Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Thanks, Kenneth, and everyone this afternoon. Jay Cycling Development Services. I'm the manager of planning within our division. Just to echo what Darius said from NCDOT Division 6, we would definitely be looking for something that would obviously score and spot to help us out on that 401 corridor because it's a major growth area right now. And they'll forward as well. Definitely incorporating the complete streets in. Like Darius said, there's a lot of railroad crossings in this high development area that incorporates some schools and some other interesting factors. There's a lot of water and sewer in this area for our development on the land use side of things. So we're a small staff, but we're pretty in tune with everything and trying to stay incorporated. So any sort of transport, we look forward to working with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Wake County.
Kenneth, is there somebody that I should hard unmute for Wake?
I can't see the list right now. If Tim is there, go ahead and unmute Tim, please.
Yeah, I don't see Tim Gardner.
Okay.
We maybe circle back.
Okay. All right. Good enough. Okay. Town of Fuquay Varina.
Thanks, guys. Tracy Stevenson here. So essentially for us, obviously we feel like this 401 corridor is kind of critical to our traffic, our control of traffic, particularly on the east side of town for the future. So that's one of the outcomes. We just want to get that well documented. We want to be able to come up with a corridor so that we can have some reasonable expectations for development that's coming into town, and so that we can start to incorporate this into something concrete that we can have development participating in. We just want to be able to, to optimize this corridor, to position it for funding in the future, like the guys said earlier. And I think I had talked to Kenneth a little bit about the public outreach. The thing on the public outreach side that I feel like is important is, we've, in the last few efforts we've had, we spent a lot of time on guiding principles and, those kinds of things, and they're good, but I don't know that, I think, for an effort like this, I would like to see us stay more focused on, the task at hand, which is the roadway itself. I think we've got a lot of data on what people think about traffic and those kind of things. And so having a focused public outreach on what we're, those goals that we're trying to accomplish, as opposed to a more broad-based, I think is probably something that's worthwhile. And then, back to the development portion of this, we do, we would like to kind of consider the access points along this roadway and how that's going to be handled in the future as well. Essentially, we just need a good base to operate from, because we are rapidly developing in the area that, this roadway serves, and would be, anything new would be constructed. And we want to be able to capture, that corridor with our development, rather than have to come back later and try to or be pinned down or not be able to fit it into a corridor. And thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tracy. Greatly appreciate that. Town of Lillington.
Can you hear me okay?
Joseph, are you there? There you are. We got you now.
Yes. Hey, this is Joseph Jeffries, town manager with the town of Lillington. I think Darius, Jay, and Tracy covered it well. I'm just looking forward to participating and working closely with our partners. I guess the only concern, Kenneth, it looked like that little bypass you had, it was going right through my house over there in Southern Wake. So might want to look at that. No, I'm just kidding. I bet Tracy had something to do with that. But no, looking forward to participating and no additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you there, Joe. Greatly appreciate that. And let's circle back to Wake County. Wake County, if you could go ahead and give your presentation. Okay, Bonnie, I guess there's not a presentation in Wake County at this particular time, but guys, thank you all very much for those who have given their presentations from the core team. Thank you. This is the opportunity for you all to provide questions and answers, but before I do that, I want to do something very quickly. I just want to remind you all, following our presentation today and following this pre-proposal conference, please be sure if you have anything beyond what will be discussed today, please post them at the website as given. Questions, the deadline for that again will be next Friday at 12 p.m. with the deadline, of course, for submissions at 11 a.m. on Friday, August 7th. So with that in mind, if there are any particular questions and answers that you all have for us, myself and others who are on the line included, please feel free to provide us those questions.
Okay, you guys, this is Bonnie again. If you do want to ask any questions, you can just notify us via chat. Some of you do have the ability to unmute yourselves. You're welcome to actually put your question here in the chat. We'll wait just a few seconds and then I will again try to just quickly unmute the callers. I think what I'm going to do is a couple at a time to see if you have questions. And if you don't, just either say no questions or stay quiet. Kenneth, it looks like the RFP and the presentation today are pretty clear, so that's great.
Okay.
It's good to see so much interest on the call.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go ahead and just check in with the call-in folks just to double check. Actually, sorry guys, you are bumped for just a moment. Matt Miller sent a question for you, Kenneth. Is there a conception of the bypass serving the highway express function and the existing road being a complete street? You want me to repeat that? Is there a concept for that bypass?
There we go, okay. What I'd like to do for that particular answer is, for those who have been engaged with the MTP in the past from outside of the Southwest area study, which I was engaged in, have there been any discussions concerning what we're looking at concerning the 401 bypass? Tracy, if you have any input that you'd like to give to this from your engagement and discussions with this, I think that would be very helpful.
Sure. I think from the standpoint of, complete streets, I guess the question is towards, do we have a bypass and then a complete streets corridor through town? I think some of that will be dictated by kind of where, kind of the results of the study, where we end up on everything. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad approach. but there's probably a lot of DOT input on how that looks as well. So from our standpoint, I don't think that doesn't sound unreasonable, but there's probably more opinions than mine that would weigh in on that one.
For those who are from NCDOT, if you have a history with this particular project and wish to give any input with regard to that particular question, please feel free to do so at this time.
Get back to my screen.
Is that Darius? Are you trying to speak?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
At Harnett County, and if anyone from the county is on the line, you probably can maybe explain it in a little bit more detail. I can, but the county has kicked off a bike kind of pedestrian greenway plan that they're working on. So we may probably want to coordinate this effort with that effort. The kickoff meeting was just held about a month ago. So we're in the beginning stages of that process. So just wanted you guys to know that.
Okay, thank you. And I see a question from Scott. This is for you, Tracy. The question is, what group stakeholders are important to engage in this study, and how might their input influence this project? So it's sort of a speculative question, but that's something that Scott Lane wanted to provide or ask. So thank you, Scott, for that question.
I know we've got a pretty active group of property owners that are paying attention to everything in this part of the world that are going to be, very vocal. And so I think the challenge will be trying to balance their vocality with, Joseph's already, complaining it's too close to his house. Just to try to balance that out, because I think right now we've got some folks that are pretty sensitive to some of the original projects, and to try to really focus on what we're trying to do here, which is, again, we kind of know what we think this looks like, but to try to get to something that's concrete. So I would say there's probably a commercial component, to how it accesses 401 in both places, and then, trying to balance out the public component with, real input on what it needs to be. Otherwise, I think if we get too, we may just get a lot of, negative feedback out of the immediate locality, which is, not atypical, but may not be exactly what we're looking for. I may need a little more time to think about the full extent of that question to be able to answer you fully, Scott. That's what I can do on the spot.
Thank you, Tracy. Jay, do you have anything you wish to add?
In relation to Scott's question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Kind of like Tracy said, there's definitely a lot of folks that's going to be looking at, and I know the team talked about this, the old stuff versus the new stuff. And things that really always come up with us is even a conceptual line on a map really sometimes will ruffle some feathers. So just making sure if there's any public meetings and stuff like that, conveying to the folks that it's a plan. It's not a construction drawing or something like that. The specifics versus. And then just to follow back what Darius touched on, which also kind of talks about what we trying to educate the folks in this area that the things are changing. So these are just Scott, you said this before, kind of letting folks know that this is just a worthwhile project, not just another random government regulation or something like that is a big message we always try and convey.
And I'll piggyback on something Jay said, that there probably is this where we have to shed the history of this project a little bit, because everybody's going to remember, spaghetti maps north and south of Fuquay and all over everywhere from when it was under study, as a STIP project. And, really I see this as a much more focused subset of that. So we may need to shed some of that history, and that, we're not going all the way to Fayetteville. We're not, this is really a much more focused scope than what those previous projects were.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that.
Kenneth, do you see there's a next question? Will data collection be part of the project? If so, in this COVID environment, how would that data be collected and confirmed to be realistic?
Okay, well, let's specify, of course, according to the RFP, we do have particular requirements. What specific data can you reference, or are you referencing? That would be my next question.
Sir, I think I unmuted you. I'm not sure if you want to continue in the chat, but I think I've unmuted you.
Kenneth, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is Mike Strasky with WSP. So we were just concerned about general traffic data and wondered if you would need that as part of this to confirm any other source of data.
Well, according to the RFP, we did have a requirement on what we wanted collected. And of course, if that could be done, that would be greatly appreciated in terms of data collection. So I think a good source of that data has been what you've collected in the past through NCDOT in terms of traffic counts. If there's specific data beyond what I'm thinking about that we need to collect, please let me know and we'll see how that can be addressed. But basically all of what we're wanting covered is basically noted within the RFP.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Kenneth, we also have another question. Are there any other lessons learned from, I think that's referring to the STIP project, R2609, that you guys can share?
I personally want, oh, hello?
Go ahead.
Hello? I personally was not engaged on that particular project. I know that some who may be on the call were involved, particularly in the merger team meeting. If there's anything that you all wish to share concerning that question. And that question again was, Bonnie, could you repeat it, please?
Sure. Are there any other lessons learned from R2609, which I believe is the STIP project that Tracy was referring to, that he would or the group would want to share? And I believe they can unmute themselves, Tracy and Jay.
Jay Sykes here from Harnett County. The only thing that I can think of right offhand is that 401 would probably stay on its existing corridor versus all new route, of course, which was something shooting 100% new everything until it got up around Highway 55, I believe it was.
In the original R2609, I don't believe I was in that merger process, but I know, when that merger team interacted with us, when the project team interacted with us, we had, they were evaluating a lot of alignments for that, in the context of getting all the way back down to Fayetteville. I think really, at this point, what we see is the existing corridor plus, the piece that goes around us to the south and east is kind of, as Kenneth showed earlier. So I kind of caught that original project on the tail end as far as, we were not, I don't think I was at the table for a lot of those, but just what I was speaking to earlier is there's a lot of perception about it. Pretty much anything we mentioned doing in this part of, in this part of the world immediately says, oh, you're talking about the 401 bypass. So, and so there's still a lot of public memory on it. And so that's kind of what I was talking about as far as, kind of shedding some of that. But as far as, lessons learned from the merger team, other than, there's probably a lot of energized property owners along this corridor that will want to pay attention and will be pretty vocal. I think that's those will be the folks that, we kind of have to get our hands around and then, see where we go from there.
Yeah, I see a question from Matt Miller. The question is, what drives the need for bypass as opposed to capacity operational improvements on the existing alignment? I think the main thing that we can highlight there, and Tracy and others can chime in, is the growth. A tremendous amount of growth that's occurred in this area. We just had 2 iterations of the Southwest Area Study, of course, one in 2012, one in 2019. We've also noted that even back in when we did the 2025 Long Range Transportation Plan, as it was called then, the bypass was included there. So we noted the growth, and with that growth comes the need for added facilities to address the growth that's occurring in that area. And I know that Fuquay has been wanting to do this for many years. So Tracy, if there's anything else that you wish to say or anybody else wish to say with regard to this week, your time.
Yeah, the existing corridor essentially goes right through the middle of one of our downtowns. So the ability to expand it is pretty limited without essentially blowing up a downtown, which obviously, would not be something that anybody in Fuquay would be in favor of. So really you're limited to what, basically once you cross Judd Parkway coming into town, you're really limited for, all the way through the core of town as to what you can do without a massive amount of commercial property being impacted, so much so that I think, when this has come up in an alternative analysis kind of context, we have argued that you shouldn't even study that corridor in depth because the ramifications of it are it's monumental. Just widening one lane through that would be a monumental right-of-way cost. So I think that's driving the bypass notion more than anything.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. So wanted to make sure to share for everybody who can't see the chat that Mike Bruff, who's one of our extraordinary data model, everything people, is stated that we do have a bunch of streetlight data now that can be provided as part of the data that we at Campo share through the study with whoever the consulting team may be. And then we have another question here, Kenneth. In the most recent comprehensive plan for Harnett County, there's a parallel new location freeway shown east of 401 all the way to Lillington, but it's not in the 2045 MTP. So wanted to check in on the status of that. Is that part, is this part of that, is it part of this project, and how is it related?
Okay, to answer that question, I'm going to answer it from the Campo standpoint. The standing document that we go by in terms of transportation planning facilities will be the adopted 2045 MTP. With regard to the Harnett County project, I do not have background as to its history and to where what Harnett County has spoken regarding that. So what I would like to do is hand that off to Jay to give some context involving that particular facility or that planned facility as to what Harnett County plans to do at this particular time.
Hey, Kenneth, appreciate that. Yeah, I think there was an older parallel street or something in there, maybe some sort of collector we were hoping that developers maybe could construct. However, there's a small area plan, essentially an update to that section of the county. I hope it should still be online. We call it the Harnett County Northwest Area Plan. And that plan, I believe, removes that parallel new facility and just more focuses on existing core. You know, everything towards this corridor and no limit to Wake County. I hope that answers question.
Thank you, Jay. And then if there's anybody else who wanted to speak up on answering that, please feel free to tell me in the chat or unmute yourself. And if not, we'll hop on to any other questions. Okay, I don't have any other notices in the chat for questions, but feel free to keep them coming. Again, we're going to hop back into our call-in users. I'm going to open the line for a couple at a time. And I know, Mike, you already spoke a moment ago, but I'm going to unplug you at 389 here. And then also I'm unplugging Paige. Paige, did you want to speak at all or ask any questions?
I have no additional questions at this time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Paige. Mike, you good?
I am, thank you.
All right. Sam, I am unmuting you, and Rachel Hill, are you guys good?
No questions on my part. Thank you.
Okay, I heard
One
Rachel,
quick
she's good. Go for it.
One quick question. Will an attendance list of this meeting be available?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Is that it? For Sam, I'm going to go ahead down to Charlie and Dwayne. I'm not sure if you had other things, but Charlie, let me see if it'll actually work here. There we go. Charlie, you're on.
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, cool. And then Mark, we're moving to you.
I'm wonderful, thank you.
Oh, great. Happy Friday. Okay, guys. So I think I caught everybody on the phone. I think we've run through our chat. So Kenneth, back to you with those last reminders, I guess. And
Thank you, Bonnie. And again, the reminders again are shown here in this slide. Please, if there are any additional questions that you have at this time, please post them at the link as shown. And again, the deadline for questions will be 12 p.m. on Friday, next Friday, July 24th. And the deadline for submissions, excuse me, will be on Friday at 11 a.m. on August 7th. And all questions, please send those to me at kenneth.withrow@campo-nc.us. And you all have, if there are no other questions, just want to say thank you all for participating in this, and have a wonderful weekend, and look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you, everybody. We'll just stay on to make sure that everyone got their parking validated. All righty, Kenneth. I'm going to go ahead and download the things we've got here.
Okay.
But meeting is closed.
Okay.
And do you want to stop sharing your screen?
Sure. We'll go ahead and do that now. So. There we go.